Greetings, everyone. Hi, I'm Addison Pollock, Director of Community Engagement with AARP Indiana. It's great to be here with our speakers today and with our viewers. I work with a local team of volunteers and community partners based in Evansville, and we are talking with some fabulous community partners in Evansville today. With my team of volunteers, I carry out AARP Indiana's mission locally, which is to empower people to live as they choose as they age. I'm pleased to kick off the third virtual event in AARP Indiana's Longevity at Home series. This is a collaboration with Swerka and More, the local area agency on aging in Evansville. And this virtual event series is intended to connect Hoosiers with information and resources that can better help them live and age in their homes and communities. Today, we will hear from several wonderful speakers about home repair, maintenance, and safety, and the local resources that are available to you and your families today to help you fix things around the house and remain in your home for a longer period. We are joined by Swerka and More. So we have Michelle Ray, who is an in-home services supervisor, as well as Jennifer Davis, who is an in-home services supervisor with Swerka and More. And then I'm also pleased to introduce our partners, Catholic Charities. We have Denise Seibert Townsend, the executive director, and Gary Kiefer, who is the Handy Helpers home repair manager. So we are very fortunate to be joined by these partners today. If you are viewing this live, you can submit questions throughout the presentation. So if you're on Facebook or YouTube, feel free to comment, and we will get your questions queued up for our speakers, and we will do our best to answer them throughout the program. But now I want to introduce our first presenters. Michelle Ray is, as I mentioned, an in-home services supervisor with Swerka and More, and has been with the organization for over 12 years. She began her current supervisor position in 2019 after starting as an options counselor and then a team leader. We are also joined by Jennifer Davis, who is also an in-home services supervisor. She has been with the organization for 16 years and has been in her current role for more than 13. Prior to that, she was a care manager, and she also supervises half of the ongoing care management team. So with that, I'll turn it over to Michelle.
Thanks, Addison. Good morning, everyone. Can we bring up the PowerPoint, please? Super, thank you. So we are going to talk about the Handy Chore program that Swerka does offer today. It is a really small program, so we will also talk about some other options that we look at. Next slide, please. Handy Chore is only available through our non-waiver funding, which is a small pot of money that we have here at Swerka. Next slide, please. Handy Chore is essentially funding to assist with things that are causing an impact in someone's health or safety in order for them to stay at home. So it's not intended to be maintenance for your home or any kind of beautification projects. Some of the examples that we have is replacing locks when maybe someone's attempted to break into the home, replacing windows if it's a safety, like there's extreme temperatures for someone with other health conditions, or fixing the base of a commode so that it doesn't rock when someone gets on or off the commode. Next slide, please. Oh, there we go. Often we look at community resources first because government funding is usually a last resort. So we want to see what other options there may be out there to assist someone with their need. Swerka does cover 6 counties. We cover Vanderburgh, Posey, Warwick, Spencer, Perry, and Gibson. Here in Vanderburgh County, we often look at churches, possibly businesses, any kind of emergency home repair. Cape often has some programs along those lines. In our outer counties, a lot of times there's the option of a USDA grant. We still look at local churches, any kind of civic groups, community action programs, those types of things. some repairs are outside of the scope of handy chores. So any kind of like replacing someone's entire roof or major plumbing issues. So we couldn't do that. We might be able to patch a small section of a roof or do a small plumbing repair, but it's not intended to be major home repairs. Next slide, please. Also, some things that are kind of outside of our scope would be any kind of cosmetic work. So fixing base trim, doorways, mantles, some of those types of things. Fixing any kind of other building on the property, like a shed or a detached garage. Foundation work is very significant, and that would definitely be out of the scope of handy chore. Any kind of general maintenance, like replacing an appliance that maybe is 20 years old or something along those lines. Also, any type of lawn care. So I know that a lot of times those that are disabled or seniors do often have trouble with lawn care in the summer. We do sometimes find youth groups that are willing to donate their time, or some type of group that maybe needs some community hours, and sometimes we do try to hook them up with that. Next slide, please. If you have explored all your other options as far as community resources, privately paying isn't an option, going through the VA isn't an option, then we can look at handy chore. Handy chore cannot, however, be completed in any Section 8 housing. So if someone is in Section 8 and they have a need, it really is up to their landlord to fulfill that need and get that taken care of for them. Under non-waiver, we have a few options of funding. We have Choice, Title 3B, and Title 3E. With Choice, there is the possibility of a cost share if someone has higher income or higher resources. So they may have to pay a portion of that repair, but we would clear that with them before we would do any type of work. Sometimes too, if it's a large cost share, we have made payment arrangements with someone to pay that over time. For Choice, you do take into account the household income. So if there's a spouse or other members in the household, it does look at that whole household. And even if someone is currently a waiver recipient and we're using non-waiver funding, those rules do still apply for them. So I hope that this kind of gives everyone a better idea about what handy chore can and cannot cover. Again, it is a really small pot of money. It's not a big service through SWRCA. We do really try to look at our other community resources and see what's available. It's primarily based around health and safety, not maintenance or beautification. But if you think that that's something that you would be interested in, or you know someone that is, there's our contact information. You can give us a call to our Aging and Disability Resource Center, and they'll be happy to help you out.
All right. Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate that. Do we have any live questions out there? If not, we do not. So if folks are viewing online, feel free to submit a question live. But I do want to kick off a couple questions, just turn to Jennifer and just talk about the handy chore program and some examples of requests that you've received. You know, Michelle talked about replacing locks and things like that, and gave some examples of things that don't qualify and do qualify. Do you have any examples of common repairs requests that you received through the program? Oh, Jennifer, I think you're on mute. Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Thanks.
One of the most common types of handy chore I would say that we have utilized in the past is if a small portion of the floor has a hole, which is allowing pests to come in. We might be able to do a patching of the floor to help prevent that from occurring, and also fixing toilets. Sometimes if the subfloor underneath the toilet might wear down over time, and causing the toilet seat to, or the toilet itself to rock back and forth. So that would be a really common one that we've done. And like Michelle said, repairing windows and things when individuals might have had a break-in in their home. And that kind of ties back into the, the safety needs of the individual.
Great. Yeah, so it seems like most of these have, these have to do with health and safety of the beneficiary. So,
Correct.
do you have any similar question? Do you have any testimonials that you might be able to share? Like, not identifying anyone specifically, but are there any stories that you might be able to share with us?
Probably just an individual who unfortunately had family members break into the home, and changing out the locks and stuff really helped to ensure, that individual's safety, and that they were able to remain in the home.
Great, thank you for that. And then, Dan, I think we have some banners on how folks can get in touch with SWRCA and more to inquire about these services. Do you mind, or yeah, there we go. We have the number right there. Oh, that's the Handy Helpers one. Jennifer, do you have the SWRCA number that you might be able to
Yes,
share with us?
that's the correct one, and that's for our Aging and Disability Resource Center, which is the point of entry for any and all of our services, or just information and referral as well. And I have a couple more things I can highlight as well, if you would like.
Oh, please. Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
One of the programs that we often refer individuals to is through CAPE, the Community Action Program of Evansville, and they have a weatherization program. So if individuals' homes are poorly insulated, or maybe their windows are leaking air, there's different types of resources that they have that they may be able to do some things to help prevent the loss of the heat in the summertime, or in the wintertime, and the loss of the air leaking out through the windows and stuff in the summertime. We also, Vectren, the gas and electric company, also, if you are in the process of purchasing new appliances, or maybe an electronic thermostat, different things of that nature, rebates, Vectren will give rebates for those types of things, as long as they fall into the energy efficient category. And you can find that information on their website as far as which types of appliances they may offer rebates for. And then one thing also to mention is we do have an online resource guide that was created in partnership with the University of Southern Indiana. And that is a good place to be able to find resources depending upon what type of option that you're looking for. Say you were looking for general maintenance in the area, or housing, any kinds of resources in the 6-county area that we serve. You can search by county and by what type of option you're looking for, and it will pull a list of resources.
Wow. So how can viewers access that, the USI SWRCA collaboration?
It's SWRCA at swrca.org.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer. That is a wealth of information. As you can see, Evansville is fortunate to have great partners down there, SWRCA and more. SWRCA does so much. That's why it's SWRCA and more. So feel free to contact them at the web address below, or at the number that was just referenced. So now I want to turn to partners that we've never worked with before, AARP's never worked with before, Catholic Charities of Evansville. And I'm so excited to be joined today with Denise Seibert Townsend, who is the Executive Director of Catholic Charities of Evansville. She began her role in June of 2020. And in that position, she is responsible for the leadership, management, and minister of all operations of Catholic Charities of Diocese of Evansville, and other key duties, including fundraising, marketing, and community outreach. She is also joined by Gary Kiefer, who is the manager of the Handy Helpers Home Repair Program, which we'll learn more about today. He is also a licensed contractor. He began his position with Catholic Charities in October of 2018. And in his position, Gary manages the operations of the business, including customer service, job quotation, work assignments, personnel training and management, invoicing and purchasing. He does a whole gamut of things. And Gary has an extensive construction experience and has owned his own general contracting firm. So without further ado, I want to kick it over to Denise to share a little bit about Catholic Charities.
Well, hello, and thank you for having us be a part of this event with AARP. Today, I'm going to start by just sharing a little bit about what Catholic Charities does as a whole, and that will lead us into why we do operate the Handy Helpers Home Repair Program. And then Gary can talk about specifics of that and the type of repairs and work that we are able to complete through that program. So everything we do at Catholic Charities focuses on helping advance hope for those we serve and helping them create lives that work. And we do that through a variety of programs and services. It's important to note that we serve the 12 counties in Southwest Indiana that comprise the Diocese of Evansville. Now we have our main office at 2111 Stringtown Road in Evansville, for those of you that are in the Evansville area. And 2020 was an exciting year for us. We just moved into this new building. It was a new construction. Catholic Charities has been around our community for more than 75 years, but we've always borrowed or leased office space to provide our services up until the past year. So it was a very exciting year for us. While we have this wonderful new building, what I always like to remind people is it's ultimately, though, the life-changing services, the work that we do out of this building that really impacts the people we serve in our community. We provide a variety of services, from counseling services to immigration legal services to a whole gamut of outreach services. I'm going to touch on a few of those just briefly so that people have a little background of what we do. With our counseling services, we help community members who are experiencing a variety of mental health issues cope with those stresses of everyday life. We provide services for children and youth all the way through adults, and we're able to provide services to individuals, couples, and families, so that individual, marriage, or family counseling. The thing that makes our services unique with our counseling services is that we provide those on a sliding scale fee, meaning that we charge a small fee based off of a person's income and household size. So it enables many people. We do not turn people away for their inability to pay to receive those critical services. Another unique aspect that in the past year is, just like we're here today, we were able to offer a teletherapy option so that we could continue those counseling services in the midst of the pandemic. Now we're able to offer services in person as well as teletherapy. And I think those both options are here to stay. Different things work to meet various persons' needs. And so then moving into our immigration legal services, with those services, we provide an accredited staff person who's able to help a person complete the vast amount of paperwork and documentation needed. It could be anything from citizenship papers to visas, green cards, et cetera, et cetera. And we charge a low cost fee for that service, much less than someone would pay if they would need to seek out an attorney for those services. But we have that available. And then we run into a variety of outreach services, which will lead us into Handy Helpers. Ultimately with our outreach services, we want to help those we serve create lives that work and become more self-sufficient. So one of the first ways we can do that is we provide assistance for individuals if they need emergency assistance with rent or utilities. And as many of you, I'm sure, have either experienced or heard in the news, that is a huge demand, particularly in the last year. A lot of people are being faced with challenges they've never faced before. So they contact us for assistance with those rent and utilities. What we can provide varies based off the funding source the person may qualify for. But if anyone's listening that may need that service, we start taking appointments on Monday mornings at 8:30, and we schedule appointments for the week until they're filled for the week. So we just ask that people contact us for that service. But ultimately, we wanted to be able to reach out to people and provide services that really help them become more self-sufficient. Once they're past that need for that emergency assistance, what can we do to help them become more self-sufficient long-term? We have a program called Boots for Work, and it is essentially that. We work with the people we serve as well as their prospective employers to provide them a voucher for work boots that may be needed to obtain a job. That was started because we realized a barrier for employment for many people was they did not have the funds available to purchase the necessary footwear. Something small that many of us may think is a small thing can lead to that stability. Once they have the boots, they can accept the job, then they can start earning that paycheck. And then there's that ripple effect of helping that person with self-sufficiency. We have other programs like our Neighbor to Neighbor program that helps individuals work on a variety of goals and, basically helping them become more stable. And, we work on financial goals, spiritual goals, health goals, really looking at what that person may need to have some long-term success. The incentive with that program is, and it goes over a period of several weeks and months, but when someone successfully completes that program, that person, the participant, can earn a stipend for their a bill that may be holding them back. Oftentimes it's rent or utilities, but to help them move forward. Given our experience in all of those areas, that is what's prompted us a few years ago to start the Handy Helpers Home Repair Program. This program is a job training program where we hire individuals with limited work histories to learn on-the-job skills through our Handy Helpers Home Repair Program. But we also couple that with a component of their time is working with on personal development and mentoring. We operate this program as a social enterprise, meaning that the work that we complete, that Gary will talk about, we do charge a fee to our customers on, but that fee immediately is turned right back around and put back into the program so that we can continue providing this service here in our community. Our goal when someone leaves Handy Helpers, the Handy Helpers program, is that the participant, we refer to as a technician, that participant will obtain a full-time paying job and that they are able to maintain it. We also another goal we work with them on is stable housing. We want to ensure that the person is able to secure stable housing and then maintain that going forward. So we measure a lot of other things, but those are two key components of why we're offering this Handy Helpers program. I'm going to turn it over to Gary because then he can start elaborating on all the variety of work that we complete for individuals in our community through this program.
Thank you. Good morning. First of all, let me say I'm a contractor, not a public speaker, so I'm very nervous, so bear with me. As Denise said, we are a job training program. We do go out into the community and do work. So I want to touch a little bit on some of the underlying we do with the people first before we go out. When customers call me and they say, Gary, how does your program work? Oftentimes I'll say it's somewhat like the barber college. You'll get a good haircut. It may take a little longer, and anyway, but we price accordingly. So when we begin, what we do is, as Denise says, we work with people who had a hard time finding long-term employment for a variety of reasons. So we have a fairly elaborate hiring process. We interview 3 times. We do a background check. We do drug screening. And once they meet all those hurdles and they come to work, they turn them over to me. And we assume that they know nothing about home repair or home maintenance. And that's usually correct. So we start at the beginning. We train them with the basics. We'll start off with learning how to read a ruler, and we go from there. We do quite a bit of work in the first 2 weeks with learning how to use tools, what tools we'll use, and materials, things like that. We spend a lot of time working on safety, and especially ladder safety, because a lot of things we do involve ladders. I guess one thing that separates us a little bit is that the type of work we do is very broad. Like I said, I have a fairly extensive background, And so we'll pretty much consider almost any type of work that a homeowner has, and I try to use a little discretion whether we have the manpower or the experience to do it or not. But it's a broad array of things that we will tackle. Some of the most common things that we do, well, let me finish this. Once we finish training, we just actually start taking jobs and scheduling jobs. And I'll always go out and do a quote first, talk with the homeowner, and kind of get an idea of what needs to be done. If they agree with that, then we'll come out and do the work. So the work really is hands-on training for our people. But I supervise them very closely and make sure that the work is done correctly. They're never sent out on a job by themselves. Some of the most common type work that we do is and again, our demographic of our customer base very closely aligns with SWORCA. It's just because of Evansville and just people needing this type of work, they're usually older or senior citizens. So we get a lot of requests for just very basic stuff: exterior handrails, stair rails. One of the things that we run across a lot, just because of the type of housing in Evansville, is older homes where especially in the garage or on the back of the house, they have a very narrow, steep 3-step staircase, concrete. And for older people, sometimes it makes it tough even just to get in and out of their house. So we end up redoing their stairs. We'll add a 4th stair so that they have a landing that's level with the kitchen floor or the back room. And then we'll put on handrails. Very common, something we do all the time. Stair rails for the front porch. Exterior door replacement is a common one. Adding storm doors. As we move into the house, we get a lot of calls for people needing handrails or grab bars, especially in the bathrooms. That's something we do quite a bit of. We replace a lot of toilets. The older toilets are oftentimes very small and very low. So we replace them with a higher comfort level toilet. And for older people, that's a big issue and an important thing to take care of. On the outside of the house, as Swerka mentioned, we do a lot of repairs of windows. And we do a lot of gutter work, downspouts. We clean gutters, we repair them, we install gutter guard. We make sure that the downspouts are sloped away from the house. Let's see, what else? I guess one thing I forgot to mention, one of the things that we train them when they first start is, just because of the population we work with and who our customer base is as well, we spend a considerable amount of time just working on their soft skills. You know, when we pull up to a house, how to get out of the van, how to walk up to the front door, how to interact with the customer, how to introduce yourself and shake their hand, pre-COVID, and just how to be friendly and outgoing. And I know that sounds like a simple thing, but sometimes it's not apparent to some of the young people we work with. And we have young people doing the work and older people being the customers. And sometimes it takes a little while for there to be a comfort level. And so we work on managing that interaction. Let's see, what else? A lot of time is just, learning how to work with a boss, somebody who's demanding and expecting you to do this when I tell you to do this, and how to work with coworkers. So we do work a lot with those soft skills. We do a little bit of basic plumbing, as I mentioned, repairing toilets, installing new toilets. We'll put in a new garbage disposal. We'll repair a garbage disposal. We'll put in a new faucet. We do quite a bit of concrete work. If there's a cracked section of concrete, we can replace that. We do tuck pointing and brick repair. So again, it's really a wide array. So I often tell people sometimes it's easier just to contact us and ask me if it's something that we can do. And if it's not, oftentimes I can give them an idea of where else to go to get that repair done. And I'm happy to do that, Again, during the entire 6 months, we kind of raise our level of complexity on the type of jobs we'll tackle. But during that 6 months for the entire time, we never really send anybody out by themselves. They're always supervised. As we start heading down the final stretch, the last 2 months, as Denise mentioned, we start switching gears and thinking about, well, what's the next step? What kind of job do I want to have in the future? And we never designed this to be just a program that we're going to graduate these people and that they're going to go into the trades. Some do, and of course I love that, and that's a big part of why I do this. But a lot don't. Some of them go on into other jobs, just given their situation. It's better for them to sometimes go to work in a factory or something else. But almost invariably, it's at a much higher rate of pay than what they've done in the past, and a better job with benefits. We go through our 6 months. We pat them on the head and give them their resume, and hopefully that we've got them a job, and we send them out, and then we start all over again. And we bring in another crew, and we start all over again. I enjoy it. I think they enjoy it. I think they get a lot out of it. I know our customers. There's a large unmet need of these type of services and this basic work that we see evidenced every day just by the number of phone calls we get about it. And I guess that's all I have to say.
Wonderful. Thank you, Gary. Yeah, no, that was an excellent presentation and overview of all the services you offer. Viewers, as you can tell, both SWRCA and More and Catholic Charities offer a plethora of services that do so much and help people in so many different ways. Gary, you touched on several things that AARP Indiana cares about. The intergenerational aspect of, customers and technicians, working together, things like that. And you also talked about some of the topics that we had touched on in our first edition of this series, which is our Home Fit program. So you were talking about handrails and toilets and things like that make our homes safer and more accessible. So I appreciate you touching on those. It looks like we have one question. I do want to, just pose that real quickly. So how soon should I start considering making these type of changes to my home or parents' home? If you feel that, that you observe something in the home that might be hazardous or might need repaired, when is the best time to reach out to Catholic Charities or SWRCA if anyone wants to tackle that one?
Well, I mean, some of these things, and it depends on their level of so many of them are relate to falls and that, and some of those things can be fairly extensive projects. And so you don't want to wait to the last minute. I've had people call me and say, my father's getting out of rehab on Thursday and he can't get in his house. Can you come and redo his steps? That's a little too late. You waited too long. So you do need to think ahead, especially on some of these things, or like a bathroom remodel. Heck, that can be a 6-week project if you're gutting a bathroom. So and again, maybe sometimes it's also about if your parents are or you are thinking about, I need some new flooring in the den. Maybe think ahead and think that carpet and throw rugs can be a trip hazard. So maybe we should look at vinyl plank flooring or tile flooring or something like that and make that decision well in advance of when the need arises. I'll let somebody else jump in.
Excellent points. Any other comments on that?
I agree. I think it's always good to be proactive because those declines can happen a lot faster than we often realize. Sometimes just one fall resulting in a broken bone, and maybe the individual can't quite get back to their regular level of functioning that they had prior.
Sure. Addison, I was just going to say it is always positive to be proactive. A lot of these home modifications do take a while. Unfortunately for SWRCA, with government funding, a lot of times we're very reactive. So until someone actually has the need, we can't typically do the work. But if they're able to privately pay or use a program like Handy Helpers, that would be a different situation for them. So.
Excellent point. Yeah, thank you for that. Catholic Charities, just sticking with the Handy Helpers program. Denise or Gary, I'm assuming this is for Gary. You mentioned a lot of home repairs, right? What is the number one that you think that you receive is the most common request from the general public, but also then older adults?
Again, probably been handrails on porches or handrails on steps, handrails in the bathroom. We get a lot of requests for that. Outside, they can be PVC or wood or cast iron, whatever. Inside the house, they're usually, like I said, grab bars, things like that. That's probably, in terms of aging in place, our number one request.
Okay. And you mentioned that folks can call and get a quote. So I guess my next question of, what's the typical cost of a home repair? It depends, right? So they should just, get in touch with you.
Yeah, it depends. And again, I always give them a price up front. And again, some things some things are, people do all the time. Like I mentioned, installing a new front door. Okay. So, that's kind of a published price. If you call me and say, Gary, what does it cost me to put in a new front door? I'm going to tell you it's going to be $270 plus the price of the door, plus some other materials like a door handle or thing like that. And frankly, what I do is basically look and see what a Lowe's or a Home Depot or some of the other larger competitors in town, and we kind of model our pricing on those. So those are public numbers. If you're getting into a situation where you've got a wheelchair and you've got a doorway that's too narrow and we have to open up the wall, then I have to quote that, and that's going to be different in every house based on the structural integrity around the door and what we have to do with everything involved with that, moving electrical, whatever.
I see.
But we're happy to do a quote, and I can usually do them on the spot.
Okay, great. So viewers, if you're interested, don't hesitate to reach out to Catholic Charities or SWRCA if you have anything that needs repaired in the home that you think that you might not be able to manage yourself, that you might need some either financial assistance or some expertise to assist. Feel free to reach out to these wonderful folks here. I do have I want to mirror a question that I had asked SWRCA. Do you have any personal testimonials that you might be able to share, both individuals who have benefited from the Handy Helpers program as a customer, but also as a technician? I love the social mission aspect of the program, and would love to hear more about it.
I'll say I can start, and then Gary can chime in because we would both like to share. I'll give you one of my first examples, just because I'm still, been with the agency for less than a year. But one of our former technicians, I had the opportunity to meet with this individual for the first time the summer of 2020. And, we were scheduling our meeting based off of this person's work schedule and overtime schedule, and trying to find a time. We met early one morning. This person works night shift at a local production facility. We met. The person was, dressed very nicely, came in. We couldn't shake hands because it was, the summer of we were still in the pandemic, but started talking about his work, his spouse's work, their son was working, just all of these wonderful things. But it wasn't that long ago that this person's story was much, much different. He came into the Handy Helpers program struggling with addiction, did not have a home, was separated from family, and, he will tell you, was at rock bottom and didn't know where to turn. Fortunately, he was receiving other services and then started working with our team at Handy Helpers. And, fast forward a couple years later, the person's held a job for several years now, has had a couple promotions. The one that really got me is not only is he working, spouse is working, teenager is working, the whole family is reunited. There's multiple children in the home. And last year, in the midst of everything, they got to go on their first family vacation. 3 years ago, they never would have thought that would have happened. So, that's just one example. And, I know this person was a very hard worker for Gary. We still stay in touch with him, and Gary can go over other stories and as well as customers who have sought out the work of handy helpers as well.
Yeah, and when Denise asked me about this, about in terms of people that we've done work for and recommendations and things like that, and I thought probably what speaks to me about the kind of work we do and how that our customers perceive it is the high preponderance of customers that we have that we go out and do work for them, and then they call us back and say, can you come and do this? And then they call us back again and say, can you do this? And I'll give you an example just of what that looks like. We had a gentleman call me up and say, hey, my house is older. I've got several doors in the house that I can't close and I can't open. I don't know if they've swollen, whatever. So we go out and we plane down the doors and we rehang them and we paint them and we put the hardware back on. Bill him, everybody's happy. He calls me again in a couple of weeks and says, those doors look so good. My living room looks bad now. Can you come back out and paint my living room? There's some holes in the walls. But so yeah, we go out and we patch the drywall. We paint the room. We paint the room around. It's a small house. We end at the edge of the kitchen, and we send him a bill. He's happy. Everybody's happy. He calls me a couple of weeks later and says, Gary, that kitchen looks bad now compared to that wall there in the living room. So can you paint the kitchen? Yeah, oh, no problem. We'll come out and paint the kitchen. While we're there, we're looking at his kitchen cabinets, and they're just not doing it for him. So Gary, can you redo our kitchen cabinets? Yes. So we strip the kitchen cabinets, take off all the doors, put on new doors, new hardware, new hinges, redo a pantry, blah, blah, blah. And so that's just one customer. And I will tell you that happens quite a bit. A fairly high percentage of our customers are repeat customers. And again, without getting into one individual, which we have those, but I think that maybe speaks to that better than anything else.
Definitely. That means that you're doing quality work. So that's great to hear. A couple more questions and then we'll wrap up. So if anyone is out there viewing on Facebook, feel free to submit a comment or a question. Part of the Handy Helpers program includes mentors. So folks can volunteer and help folks who are, I'm assuming, are the technicians. Can you go into a little bit more detail on what a mentor does and how folks can get involved?
Yeah, I'll start with that. So we have a mentoring component with the Handy Helpers program. So the technicians, while they're working with us, are paired with a mentor. This is a community volunteer. This person is screened. We provide training, to prepare them to work with the individuals, but really to build that relationship and mentorship that, it's not a paid staff person. It's not a supervisor. It is someone who genuinely cares about the participant in the program and wants that person to be successful. The mentors can then provide guidance and coaching and just a listening ear, to help those we serve as they're going through that job searching process, as they're preparing, for what may be next for them and their family. So if individuals are interested in being a mentor, they can reach out to us. They can call our office, and we can start talking with them about that program and what it will entail. Typically, mentors and technicians meet weekly. We try to do that. The pandemic has shifted things a little, but I think things are looking brighter in 2021. I think we'll be getting back into that with, following all the guidelines, but it has been a really amazing component of the work to see what that aspect can add to the people we serve. And Gary may have something else to add if I've overlooked anything.
No, I don't think so. I just think that it really is an important component, though, and I can just tell you from talking to the techs on the job as we do every day, how important that mentor relationship is to them. And oftentimes it goes on longer than any other aspect of our program, and absolutely is a vital component to what we do.
Great. Great. That's awesome to hear. We're all about volunteering at AARP Indiana, so I wanted to, give you a chance to highlight one of your excellent volunteer opportunities. And then in closing, sticking with Catholic Charities, what's the future for Handy Helpers? It just seems like such an amazing program. Just curious if you have any things that any aspirations that you're hoping to achieve in the future with it.
Well, I'll start and then Gary can add. The last year, I think with so many organizations and businesses, the 2020, 2021 with the pandemic definitely had a hit with us with our work, in terms of how we can provide services, the comfort level for people calling us for those services. Either they may not have the financial resources to pay for some of these jobs, as Gary discussed, or we're just not quite ready. I think all of us were, the thought of having someone in your home when you maybe didn't need it quite yet was something we weren't, we were all trying to shy away from. But as we look forward, we're continuing the Handy Helpers program. We're going to start hiring technicians in smaller groups so that the group sizes are smaller as we're coming to job sites. Typically when we were first starting, we were aiming at more like 6 at a time. We're going to do 2 and 3 at a time, but more frequently. So we kind of have this built-in rotation so that we have some experienced and maybe less experienced technicians on the job, depending on the calls we get from customers. I think that will help us meet the needs of our customers, but it will also help us with some of the guidelines and changes we need to make coming out of the last year. I think also, like I said, we've really had to slow things down, but in working with Gary and other members of our team, I feel that as we gear up into summer, which is the perfect time as we're looking into exterior projects, I think, more people are being vaccinated, numbers are looking better. Let's hope it continues that way. That I really think if people start calling us for quotes as we look to, the latter part of April, May going forward, I think we are going to be scheduling things very consistently at that point. So I feel like this is going to be a really good year for Handy Helpers. And Gary, did you have anything else to add on timing?
So I think that, and just what we've discussed internally, is it's a very intense program. It's a very hands-on program. And I think that's one thing that separates us from other programs out there. And I think it is very effective in that regard. So our challenge then would be scalability. How do we involve more young people in this program, and which allows us to serve more customers. But so that's really our challenge, is how do we do that? And I'm not sure we have the answer to that yet, but it is definitely what we'll be working on this next year. How do we increase our ability to help more young people, and consequently then serve our customers as well?
All right. Well, wonderful. Denise, Gary, thank you so much for presenting today and answering those questions. And then I also want to extend my thanks to Michelle and Jennifer for speaking on behalf of SWRCA. Folks, you've heard it about home repair, maintenance, and safety, and just a couple of the organizations that exist in the Evansville area and the various resources that they can offer to you and your family members. So if you have a question, we provided their contact information throughout the program. Feel free to rewind and write those numbers down, those websites down, and reach out. Don't hesitate to do so. But with that, I do want to mention that we have our final longevity at home event in the series coming up next month. So that's in April. So please check that out at the web address below. It's going to be on home. It's called Declutter Your Life. So it's all about home decluttering and home organizing. So if you're interested in that, I'll be taking notes because I have a lot of that to do myself. But we hope to see you then. And thank you so much for joining us today. Take care.